you for joining us. You are watching the news on African Free Press Television. My name is Bridget Kokudili with the news updates. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Kachikwu, says the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has not been unbundled. Addressing reporters after the Federal Executive Council meeting held on Wednesday, the minister said the corporation was only being reorganized. He said NNPC had 5 business entities: upstream, downstream, refineries, gas and power, with focus on business, and that they were there before. Dr. Kachikwu admitted that the engagement perhaps has not been good enough, promising to discuss with stakeholders and resolve the issues. He said he was concerned that the industry had been shut down, assuring reporters that the issues would be resolved. The Federal Executive Council (FEC) had approved a presidential initiative on continuous audit to strengthen controls of federal government expenditures. The Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, made the decision known on Wednesday while briefing reporters on the outcome of the FEC meeting held in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Mrs. Adeosun said that the initiative would not just strengthen the internal audit of the payroll, but general expenditures, which may include, among others, contracts and pensions of ministries, departments and agencies without notice. She revealed that the government had commenced the second phase of the payroll of another potential 11,000 ghost workers. This, the minister said, was sequel to the first phase of the payroll audit, which revealed the existence of 23,000 ghost workers, which saved the country about 2.29 billion naira. Angry oil workers have shut down all offices and facilities of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) in protest of Tuesday's splitting of the state oil company by the federal government. They have vowed to continue their strike embarked upon Wednesday until they receive clarifications regarding Tuesday's unbundling of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC). There are fears of fresh fuel scarcity as a result of the protest. The government had announced the unbundling of the NNPC into 7 independent units. 2 major unions in the oil and gas sector had on Friday rejected the planned splitting. The spokesperson for the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Bengasan, Emmanuel Ogungbadna, had said that the union was not carried along in the decision to split the company. Similarly, the president of the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, Nupeng Igwe Achese, had said union would not accept the decision without knowing how the manpower that would operate in the 30 companies would be managed. And meanwhile, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Wednesday arraigned Ricky Tafa, a senior advocate of Nigeria, before Justice A.A. Akintoye of the Lagos State High Court, Igbosere, on a 27-count charge. Among other allegations, Mr. Tafa is accused of bribing a judge. The charges border on alleged willful obstruction of authorized officers of EFCC, refusing to declare assets, making false information, and offering gratification to a public official. When the charge was read to him, Mr. Tafa, a senior advocate of Nigeria, pleaded not guilty. In view of his plea, Prosecution Counsel Rotimi Oyedepo asked the court to fix a date for trial and to remand the defendants in prison custody. However, the counsel to Mr. Tafa, Bolaji Ayorinde San, told the court that he had filed an application for bail. He urged the court to grant bail to the defendants on self-recognition. Justice Akintoye granted bail to the defendants on self-recognizance and adjourned the matter to March 22nd for trial. The House of Representatives Committee on Telecommunications is insisting that the initial 1.4 trillion naira fine imposed on MTN Communications Nigeria Limited for failing to disconnect 5.2 million unregistered subscribers on its network must be paid in full instead of the reduced penalty of 780 billion naira. The Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) slapped the 1.4 trillion naira fine on MTN last October, but later reduced it to 780 billion naira and gave the network provider to December 31st, 2015 to pay up after the company had pleaded for leniency. But before the deadline, MTN sued the federal government, challenging the power of the federal government and NCC to impose the fine. Less than 3 weeks ago, it withdrew its case and paid 50 billion naira as a gesture of good faith towards the settlement of the fine. The former Nigerian Minister of Petroleum, Mrs. Yeziani Alison Madueke, has strongly stated that all transactions made during her tenure went through due process, as against insinuations that she looted $20 billion. She made this known in London during an interview session with the CEO of Ovation magazine, Mrs. Adele Momodu. Mrs. Madueke explained that virtually all the transactions in respect of which allegations of corruption are being leveled against her went through due process, and that the group managing director of NNPC was actively involved in ensuring that the best international practices were maintained. She added that her involvement in the conclusion of those transactions was limited and that some of the contracts had been executed before she became Minister of Petroleum Resources. American officials says U.S. troops took part in a raid on the Islamic Al-Shabaab group alongside Somali troops. Al-Shabaab earlier said it had fought off an attack by foreign forces, but U.S. officials said several militants were killed in the raid early on Wednesday. Several countries have been supporting Somali officials in their efforts to combat Al-Shabaab's insurgency. The assault comes after the U.S. said it conducted airstrikes on Saturday on an Al-Shabaab training camp. Al-Shabaab said one of its fighters died in the battle, while a Somali official put the number of militants killed at 15. A Somali intelligence official told the Associated Press news agency that Wednesday's raid had targeted a particular high-profile individual who had died in the attack. The African Union mission in Somalia has not commented on the latest raid. It was a dream come true for the League One side PSG as they beat Chelsea 2-1 in Wednesday night's second leg round of 16 tie of the UEFA Champions League. Midfielder Adrien Rabiot opened the scoring for Paris Saint-Germain PSG before Chelsea forward Diego Costa fired a fantastic shot to level the scoreboard. Subsequently, both sides had their grounds to defend their goals, which lasted till the end of the first half. It seemed the morale of the French side increased in the second half as Zlatan Ibrahimovic set PSG on the lead with an assist from Angel Di Maria in the 67th minute. PSG had led Chelsea out of the Champions League and have also progressed to the quarter-finals after thrashing Chelsea 2-1 both at the Parc des Princes Stadium and Stamford Bridge consecutively. And for more stories, please log on to our website at www.africanfreepress.com, like our Facebook page at African Free Press, follow us on Twitter at African Free Press. Don't forget to join in our discussions at African Free Press Forum and subscribe to our YouTube channel at African Free Press. My name is Bridget Okudili.